Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for frame rate is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Frame Rate is brought to you by Ring Central. Get rid of that old PBX system in the basement. Get Ring Central. Start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial at ringcentral.com.
One day the guy on the buffalo was cruising around through the plains, seen a bear, and he thought to himself, oh man, I gotta get away from the bear. Hope he don't chase, oh no, he's gonna chase me. Oh no, I better just turn around and chase him back. 'Cause guess what? I'm on a buffalo. Guy on a buffalo. Hey bear.
It's Frame Rate. Welcome to Frame Rate. I am Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood.
And also along with us is Sarah Lane. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Tom. I was just like, look, I'm in that intro for Frame Rate.
Yeah, that's the new intro. We've been using that for a while. We have a lot of guest appearances in our intro. That's why we had to have you on the show.
What? Why
Well,
did you
I love it.
from her,
I, for
Tom?
one, think it's great.
She was perfectly happy, and you had to be like, let me take it down a notch, little lady. Let me explain. Not so special, you.
No, it's more special because she's in every episode.
Oh. Do you feel special?
I felt a little tinge of Sarah doesn't watch the show. The thing is, I'm usually just sitting back at my real desk while you guys do the show.
Right.
So I watch, but I don't really have a clear monitor.
Yeah.
I listen.
You're more of a listener than a viewer.
I'm an audio subscriber to Frame Rate.
To Frame Rate?
Yeah, that's
You're
right.
one of those people who's like, I always hate the opening video because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just want to hear the music.
unsubscribe.
That's my jam.
All right.
Yeah, but this one was music. This one, as a matter of fact, this is the Guy on a Buffalo. Guy on a Buffalo series. I was not hip to this until like 20 minutes ago. Somebody sent that over, and I watched all 5 episodes. Turns out that what they did is, and this is very Frame Rate because that footage that you saw is now public domain. It was a 1978 movie about, strangely enough, a guy who rides a buffalo. And all they do is they carve out bits and pieces of it, and they play that same song describing whatever is happening in the episode. And it gets weirdly, as many viral hits do, it gets weirdly hypnotic to where you just get excited. You're ready to hear that chorus of Guy on a Buffalo again. Turns out also, these guys live in Austin, and they have a Kickstarter for their first album. So I'm thinking, totally got to give them as a guest for NSFW.
Do they have a buffalo?
You know what? Maybe we'll buy them a buffalo. Chat Realm will say, we're not going to support your album, but we will buy you a real-life buffalo.
How's that?
How hard it would be to sit on a buffalo. I mean, they're a girthy animal.
It's a
You
good word.
really you gotta stretch,
Just FYI,
kick.
Always stretch before you get on a buffalo.
just search for episode 4 of Guy on a Buffalo, and you'll see how hard it is to...
to get on a buffalo.
Something to look forward to.
All right, let's start off with in case you didn't realize, that was not yet our big story. This is.
This just in, the big story.
Big story is Netflix is sorry. They didn't mean it. That thing with Qwikster was it was a stupid idea. They understand. It was one mistake. Please come back.
It was kind of a few mistakes now, wasn't it?
So Reed Hastings, here's the actual real world version of this. Reed Hastings posted a blog posting today saying, you know what? We made a mistake with the whole Qwikster thing. Everybody complained about the fact that there were 2 sites. Netflix is one company again. There'll be one website, one login, one account. No more Qwikster.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Is that scene in Swingers when the guy keeps calling the voicemail machine over and over and over again because he just can't. He just realizes he screwed up the last message, so he just makes it worse each time, and it becomes painful at some point. You're like, don't. You're broken, and that's how I feel about Netflix, man.
You just want to pick up the phone and say, "Reed, stop calling me."
Don't ever call me again, Reed.
Reed Hastings was looking all buff when he was playing beach volleyball, but then we took him home and he got a little spazzy on us. Like, I'm thinking about breaking up the company. I'm going to break up the company. Company's broken up. Also double fees. No, not double fees. It's really half fees. Sort of half fees, double fees, but we're definitely two different things. Just kidding. We're all together. We're all together. Everything's fine. I'm fine. What do you got a problem? I don't have a problem. Netflix doesn't have a problem. Stock price doesn't have a problem. We used to be at 300. I'll tell you about when we were back at 300. We're only at 110 now.
Wow.
Please come back.
I mean, this is we've been talking about this all day, and as you mentioned, I mean, it is the right thing to do. This is the only real way that makes sense to anybody. But it's just, why did they have to go the Qwikster route, especially for such a short amount of time? Because it just makes them seem like they don't know what's right for the company. They're unorganized, they're making bad decisions, and people have little faith in organizations where management makes bad decisions.
Yeah, I honestly think this is the last we'll hear of this. I think it's Reed Hastings going, you know what? We messed this all up.
Yeah.
And I think he's brave enough to admit a mistake and change something where a lot of CEOs wouldn't, because they would be afraid of appearing wishy-washy.
See,
I don't care about appearing wishy-washy. You all want it to be one website, fine. I'm going to make it one website. And what would people rather he kept it split if that's their big complaint?
I think this is I could not disagree with you more, Tom. I think this is not a case of him listening to the fans and doing the right thing. I think he did the wrong thing when he had a vision and he went to execute it, and he bowed to the pressure of the rabble out there. Steve Jobs wouldn't have bowed to the pressure of the rabble. He bowed to the pressure of the board and of the shareholders, and he shouldn't have done any of those things. If he truly believed that Netflix was only pretending to be a DVD company so that it could get to a place where it could launch his vision of streaming content all the time to everyone, he should have stuck to it, sink or swim. But instead, he got the worst of all worlds in that he tanked the share price, and then he caved last minute and went backsies on it. I
think he honestly realized it was a stupid idea. And he was only doing it. He probably realized he was only doing it in order to sell Qwikster off later. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be able to sell Qwikster if it's worth nothing.
But the only reason he realized it was a bad idea is because everybody was loud and up in arms about it. So it's like, if your user base has to tell you that you're making bad ideas, then you probably shouldn't be the boss.
Yeah, but he made every decision was loved by the user base up until this one. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's big enough to make a mistake. Should people never admit their mistakes?
No, okay, but again, we are in fundamental disagreement that he made a mistake in the decision to split up the company. Now, how he went about it, I think clearly was an error. It was a PR nightmare. I think Qwikster was a terrible name. But think about it, like back everything up. Imagine if the net result was everything was exactly the same, but the only difference was he said, here's the thing, Netflix, you've known Netflix for years and years and years. A lot of people seem to like our streaming service thing. The problem is we can't count them properly, and we're paying out too much money for people who aren't using it. We're going to launch a new company that's everything you love about the streaming service. It's going to be this other thing. And then if they had named that something else, but the problem was they tried to take a brand that was established for over a decade.
No, people would have hated that too. People would have hated that just as much as Qwikster. Absolutely. No, I totally disagree with you there. If they would have said, hey, we're taking the streaming part and ripping it out as another company, and now you're going to have two websites and two accounts, it would have been the exact same complaints.
No, I don't believe it would, first of all. Second of all, it's not what people don't want is a one-size-fits-all company. You do not want the same people who make your light bulbs to make your refrigerators to also make your diapers.
I'm not asking Netflix to make the TV.
Where are our diapers?
I just want to watch movies.
Look, the point is, if you ever have an opportunity to fragment and specifically own one niche, that's what you should do. This idea that you should be...
They own a niche. They're like over-niching it.
They own DVD by mail for sure.
Watching the TV stuff.
No, see
that's why people complained when they spun off Qwikster. They're like, look, I'm the guy who wants to get the DVDs 2 days later and have the streaming, and now you're making it hard for me.
Okay, no. Okay, now first of all, understand I'm not saying that I wish that I'm hoping that Qwikster would have happened or whatever. I think it was a big mistake. I think that the right part of what he was trying to do was be one thing and be one thing exceptionally well, and that was stream content on demand. That is a very, very good idea, and that's what people want.
And he's still doing it.
To split, well, no, but he's not. He's
all
also.
He did was change the name back and allow for a unified account system because it's all part of the same company anyway.
He did take-backs, and now there's video game rentals being offered that people didn't have
not
before.
Yet, but yeah, could
well,
be.
Okay, so how is that owning just one thing? Now they're into video game rentals. Why don't they also rent me toasters when I want them or whatever?
That is silly.
I mean, I'm not seeing. Look, businesses.
I would like to see you put a toaster in your home entertainment system.
You know what? That's how I burn my CDs. Is it a toaster?
Well played, sir.
The point is his impulse was 100% right. People want their businesses to do exactly one thing and do it exceptionally well. He saw an opportunity to get away from physical media and own the digital distribution space, and it was the right impulse, and it was the wrong way he went about it from a PR perspective. But this business, but once he did it, that was a sunk cost, and the share price was down no matter what. What he needed to do was do what Steve Jobs would have done and freaking commit and blow people's minds with the quality, the quantity, the licensing deals to where they say, well, that was a rough period, but man, you made the right decision, and now you're going in the right direction.
This is Mobile Me. This is Steve Jobs saying, you know what? We launched Mobile Me, and it sucked. So we're going to rip it up, and we're going to do it right this time as iCloud. That's what this is. This is Reed Hastings going, you know what? This made sense on paper the way Brian Brushwood would explain it. But in reality, people hate it, and I'm not too big of a man to admit a mistake, rip it up, and start over.
But Steve Jobs did not say that about Mobile Me within a month of launching it.
Yes.
We
Well,
all had to deal with it for years.
He actually said it like the next day, but yeah, it took a while for him to
then
change
nothing
it.
happened.
Yeah.
And I kept paying for it. So.
All right, shall we move on to our next big story?
If you guys can get along, yes.
Well, that's no fun.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
Microsoft finally, after rumor after rumor after rumor, announced that they are providing a service with Verizon and Comcast on the Xbox 360. They're a little different. With Comcast, all you get is Comcast Video on Demand, so it's not like it replaces your set-top box. With Verizon, you'll actually get some limited live streaming channels, so it could be sort of an extra set-top box in the back room or your rec room or something, and you'll get some of the live channels down there. But it's all coming through Xbox 360 over the internet, as a part of a dashboard upgrade that's rumored to be coming sometime in mid-November. And as part of that offering, they're actually, I'm more excited about the fact that they're redoing the whole video section so that it's more unified by type of video and will be easier to navigate what's available there, like the stuff they have already, like Hulu Plus and ESPN 360. And they're adding a few other of those ESPN 360 type channels like Sci-Fi Network, Love Films coming in UK and Germany. So this is sort of a worldwide launch. HBO Go's coming to Xbox 360. Problem is, Brian, you've had a problem with HBO Go because you're on Time Warner cable. That's not going to change in the Xbox 360.
Well, and then the real killer is that, of course, in order to access the whole thing I want from my Xbox is the ability to give the finger to Time Warner and to cut out 2/3 of my expense. I mean, if I could do nothing, but if I could spend, let's say, the same $150, but get no services, no phone and no cable, but instead get, we'll say 70 megabits up and down or whatever, would love that. And I would love it. But then let's say I did that. Then the problem is I still can't get HBO Go because you have to be a subscriber in the right area with the right cable company. It's more of these old entanglements that are making the transition so freaking painful that's driving me nuts. And let me tell you, there's never been a time I've been more ready to jump ship and leave Time Warner in my wake than right now. I mean, I just experienced an exceptionally bad bout of customer service where they told me something was totally free a year and a half ago, that they were going to do me a favor and give me something totally free because for 3 days they scheduled a call and didn't show up. And then I find out a year and a half later that they've been charging me $11 a month for it. So they got me for another $250 or whatever.
Well, you're going to be reimbursed that, right?
No, goodness no, because they look and they're like, oh, well, our records don't go back that far. Sorry.
Oh, no wonder you're mad.
We didn't keep tin-type photos of your records.
We don't know if what you're saying is true at all. We don't have records.
There was this tinge of her almost calling me a liar, and I just snapped. I'm normally very courteous. I understand you could be mad at the system, but don't be mad at the person because they're the person, they're just a guy in a phone queue. But this lady was so smug. I lost it. By the way, if my internet goes out in the middle of this, you know why. Man, trying to shut it down.
Let's get back to the Xbox 360, shall we? Yeah, this is going to help you as a Time Warner subscriber, but if you were a Verizon or a Comcast subscriber, you get a little extra something with your Xbox 360. It's not something that's going to make me run out and buy an Xbox 360, but it is going to make me like my Xbox 360 more.
Well, and I think that's the right move for Xbox. What they want to do is they want to build an ecosystem, make a clubhouse, get you more comfortable with the idea of the Xbox being the place that you watch your movies, which watching on DVD, that you go to watch your Netflix instant streaming, and eventually, your Hulu, HBO Go, and all of your other now, none of these are live channels, right? These are all
on Verizon. On Verizon Fios, you actually will get some live channels, but not from Comcast.
Now, that is an important step forward for Xbox to make. That's what they need to do. If they want to be your portal, if you want to look at your cable box and look at your Xbox and decide which one you want to fire up, that is an important distinction to where if you could blur the lines, but like, hey, man, we got live content right here, too. Only you don't have to go through the stupid DVR interface that they have.
I think that's where they're going with this, is Microsoft wants to be the set-top box. They want to be the box that brings you everything. And their strategy seems to be make deals with the cable companies so that they can not only provide you all of this internet content with Hulu, with Netflix, now with LoveFilm, with all of these internet streaming providers, they will also be able to provide your cable TV. That's what Google was trying to do with Google TV, is to say, pass through your cable stuff and we'll have a searchable interface for everything you get. It just didn't work very well. And this is what Microsoft is moving forward towards, is saying, look, we're going to be this dashboard with the searchable interface. You'll be able to use Bing to just say, I want to watch this, and we'll tell you whether it's on, where it's on, whether it's from your cable company or some other provider.
It still is clunky, though, because it's not the same thing. You're paying for a cable subscription, whatever your tier ends up being. And no matter what it is, either with Verizon or Comcast, you're not just going to be able to replicate cable on your Xbox 360. Right. So I like the idea in concept, but I think it has a long way to go before people don't have to have the conversation of like, oh wait, do we get that channel on this one? Or oh, maybe they should be in the same room and this other TV's better. And because you kind of want all your stuff in one place.
Right, that's why I said Microsoft's moving towards that. The cable companies aren't necessarily cooperating yet.
Exactly.
Now keep in mind, a lot of the frustrations with the Google TV are the fact that, I perceive it as being a rather underpowered device. Now I know there's a lot of talk that the software will make that experience better, but meanwhile we know that the Xbox 360 still, even at 5, 6, 7 years old, has plenty of muscle behind it, and now it's got the infrastructure where it's got devices that look at you and listen to you. And what if, and of course the difference is Google TV, you've got a physical keyboard to type searches in, but I would not be surprised if everyone takes a cue from the iPhone 4S and starts coming up with their own versions of artificially intelligent natural language searches, where you could say, Xbox, find me the latest episode of Breaking Bad, and all of a sudden it pops up.
Well, Connect already does that, and that's what part of this dashboard update will be, is you being able to say, they show this in the video, you say, like, watch the movie Xbox, watch 2012, and then the movie 2012 pops up because you have it on the hard drive or you have access to it. Or Xbox, watch Netflix. Netflix pops up. Watch ABC. Right. ABC pops up. I mean, that's exactly what they want to do.
That's still in the, one of 8 words, one of 50 programs syntax. That's not quite the same as with Siri over here, where it's contextual and it tells you, go out, find this, and it says, I found you this. Is this what you're looking for?
Xbox, I'm sad and want to watch something that will cheer me up. And it's like, no problem.
He's like,
here's Love Actually.
Schindler's List?
Xbox, you don't know me. All right, we got yet another big story before we get to Film Foul.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
So Hulu, it's so funny, like Hulu's never announced anything officially, but all of the news outlets are basically treating this like it's official word that Hulu is up for sale. And several outlets reporting now that Yahoo is out. Yahoo is not going to bid on Hulu. That leaves Google, Dish Network, and I can't remember the other one now suddenly. Oh, Amazon as the bidders. Dish has the best bid, $1.9 billion. Google's actually bidding more money, but I think we've talked about it on the show before. They have more restrictions on their bid of how long content would be around. So Dish seems to be the leader, but then some people are saying that Hulu may just decide not to sell after all.
It makes sense that Yahoo would be out just because Yahoo seems to have
A lot of other
some
problems.
issues of its own,
Yeah.
just like Yahoo getting sold
Right.
or going private.
Yahoo came into the meeting and said, "You want to buy us?"
Yeah, we're trying to get bought too, so how do we do this? I think we ought to just go.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, from a consumer point of view, it's really weird. I very rarely find myself really rooting for a company to get sold, but I want so much for Hulu not to have a control stake by the big media people that it should be adversarial with. It should be competing against these guys and should be trying to get the licensing deals for as cheap as possible. So I find myself like really worried as one by one all these contenders to buy out Hulu drop out of the picture. And now, I mean, what happens if they don't have any buyers? What happens if they go for too little money? I mean, what if you're going to guess what happens next, what happens next?
I think what happens is that Hulu just stays the way it is. They are at the mercy of the networks. They don't get CBS, and they continue to kind of plunk along until either a Netflix or a Blockbuster Video or a Slingbox or some other company comes out of nowhere. Maybe it's Amazon and eats their lunch. If they continue to be owned by the studios, they're going to continue to be pulled in too many different directions to be able to make the deals that they need to make and take the risk that they need to take. So really, it's Hulu's best interest to be sold. It may not necessarily be the studio's best interest.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's the official word from Frame Rate. That's a bummer,
That's
Hulu.
a bummer.
You know what would be great if Roku redesigned their Hulu app? Wouldn't that be the best?
Just redesign
Do you
their
watch
own?
Hulu through Roku ever?
No, because it's only Hulu Plus.
Well, that's true. Okay, well, as a Hulu Plus subscriber, I really vastly enjoy it just as the web experience or on my iPad to the Roku app. I don't know if any of you out there are watching it via Roku, but it's a great way to watch stuff. I like Hulu Plus. I mean, there are a lot of shows that Hulu offers that I get that way, but man, that interface really needs a facelift.
I'm looking at the.
And that is also the official word.
Looking at you, Roku.
There's the lag in the chat room, and then all of a sudden everybody starts popping in, agreeing with you or disagreeing.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes. They're either agreeing or disagreeing.
But there's the lag, is what I'm
Very
saying.
rarely, I'm just neutral
Yeah,
on what Sarah
I don't
says.
really care about the content of this show.
Let's we'll move on to Film Film in a second, but first I want to thank our sponsor, Ring Central. We decided we needed a business phone system here, being a business. This is a big studio. People need to make business calls. Sometimes you don't get a good cell reception. So Leo made the choice to go with Ring Central because A, no startup costs, no PBX box in the basement, no bunch of hardware to install. It's not old-fashioned. It's affordable, easy to set up. We get more features than with the old hardware that we would have been buying from a traditional vendor. You can have faxes sent right to your inbox, sent to your smartphone. You can use your smartphone on the network if you want, if you don't want to have a handset, and the cost is only $25 per month per user and includes unlimited usage. So take a look at Ring Central. You'll find out why it's the #1 cloud-based phone system out there. Don't go PBX or get rid of the PBX system. Get Ring Central. Leo trusts them. We use them. You should probably try them too. Start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial at ringcentral.com, or you can give them a call, 800-800-4070. That's 2 800s in a row. So 1-800-800-4070. We thank Ring Central for their support of Frame Rate. On to Film Found. Eddie Murphy's Tower Heist film looks to be an all-star cast, looks to be mildly funny, is also coming straight into your living room, even though it's still in the theaters. How much would you pay to watch this movie in your living room instead of going to the theater? It's still out in theaters. It's only been in theaters for 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, I guess you get the convenience of not having to leave the house and having some people over.
You have to be a Comcast Video On Demand subscriber, so there's that. But
So I mean, I'd say maybe I'd pay twice the amount of my ticket.
So
tops.
20, 22 bucks.
$20, sure. And then I could have Tom and Brian and Jammer B over.
Brian,
that sounds about right.
How much seems reasonable for you?
for a movie that's 3 weeks stale in the box office?
Yeah, this is a movie you're going like, oh yeah, I had a couple other things I wanted to see that week that came out, so I'm now just getting around. There's not much else out. Want to watch a happy comedy.
I'm going to say at $30, I can easily justify that because that's roughly what I pay going out anyway.
Right, $30. All right, so a little more. How about $60? Anyone?
Well, that doesn't make any sense, Tom. Why would something be that expensive?
That's what they're charging. It's an experiment that they're trying to make the argument, if you're a family of 4, that you would spend $60 going to see the movie in the theaters.
Okay, but that's a whole...
So you
that's like...
get the convenience of watching it in your home.
I would like to point out that the chat room already thought I was crazy for saying I would do it for $30. And when you said $60, that sound you heard was the entire internet's brains exploding with rage.
Comcast experiment is double the price of the DirecTV experiment we talked about, where they were charging $30 for a movie on demand that was still in theaters.
Milnock in chat says 60, but Eddie Murphy is no longer funny. Not worth it at all.
That's why I have to pay extra.
The thing is like, okay, if they say if you're a family of 4, this is roughly the same amount as going to the theater. And yes, there's a hassle that you don't have to go through by taking your kids to the theater, but then there's also the fun experience of going to the theater. I mean, it's not worth $60.
Yeah.
To sit there?
As the only member of this triumvirate who has children, I don't know that I would pay more money to go put the kids in the car, have them scream, melt down, check on food allergies with the popcorn, have the kid run away.
Okay.
Pay for the police to find him.
Spill the Coke.
Yeah.
Screaming.
Yeah. Like, I would pay a premium to be like, let's watch it at our house. Hey, how special. Look, we are a movie theater, kids.
But not that much of a premium. Not a $60 premium.
No, goodness. Oh, no. No.
Heavens, no. Yeah, so, well, you can try this out. The movie comes out in theaters November 4th, so I guess, what, November 25th. You can decide whether you want to plunk down your $60, Comcast subscribers. Disney CEO Robert Iger will step down in 2015. He's 60 years old, so that gives him until he's 65. And he will add the additional title of chairman of the board in March 2012. Will remain executive chairman until June 2016, at which time he will just totally retire. Now, so this is the most complicated retirement scheme I've ever seen, but he's leaving Disney.
Now, I didn't follow the whole ascension of various viceroys to the kingdom of the magic. The only last time I paid attention was when an Eisner was in charge. What happened since then?
Eisner got run out, and Iger took over, and he's apparently, by all accounts, done a passable job ever since.
Well, I know that when Eisner was doing it, it was a bunch of... actually, I don't know. I'm going to misspeak. If there's anybody who's like feverish about chiming in, it's people who are super fans of Disney, so I'm not going to talk outside of...
Iger's been in charge since 1999. He was named president in 1999. I
know that before 1999 was when I felt like Disney was the most boring and politically correct stuff, and now since then I feel like it's gotten way more interesting. So I'm sad that it's the end of an era.
You know, I think it's one of those things where you just got to mark the passing. You know, Bob Iger. He's been in charge for a long time. Disney's one of those companies where Walt Disney is not around. He hasn't been around for a long time. The company's kicking strong.
We're also talking about 2015. Robert Iger is going to be the boss for a long time.
This is like when Bill Gates announced he was no longer going to be CEO in 3 years.
Sure.
And then he was going to just hang around. It took a while.
So they've got all sorts of time to figure out who the absolute best man, woman, or child should run Disney.
They should do a reality show.
Yeah.
To replace it. Cinema Now's movie library is about to get a little bigger and definitely better looking. Yesterday, they announced that they're partnering up with Intel to offer a slate of 1080p HD movies for the first time, available on PCs packing a second-generation Intel Core CPU. Several hundred new high-definition releases, as long as you got an Intel chip. Stuff from 20th Century Fox. Beeps, free.
that was my beeps. That was my beeps. Sorry about
Brothers, my beep. Have already been added to the library, in addition to the 15,000 movies you already get. So, anybody use Cinema Now anymore?
I mean, that's the problem, right? It's this stuff is so fragmented. It's hard to be like, well, yes, hooray for whoever that guy is.
All right, well then let's get to the biggest film story of the day, which is Sony Pictures looks like they're going to get the rights to the biopic of Steve Jobs' life. So, should it be Noah Wyle, who played him in Pirates of Silicon Valley and at Macworld 1999, or should it be Ashton Kutcher?
Oh my gosh,
I choose
really?
death as an option.
Or should it be somebody else?
Well, Noah Wyle,
death. Wow.
Well, no, I did. Okay, you know that's what you say when you don't want either of the choices you have. Noah Wyle, not that he didn't do a fine job, but it's like just because he played Steve Jobs and then in 1999 at Macworld, like that doesn't mean he just
still kind of looks like it.
Hang tight though. Look, everybody who loves what Steve Jobs did for technology certainly goes back and they look at the stuff that Steve Jobs said. And Noah Wyle tells the story of after Pirates of, I want to say Pirates of the Caribbean, Pirates of Silicon. Yeah, right here. It says here, he got a phone call on his unlisted number. Noah, said the voice. Yes, I said, this is Steve Jobs. My heart started beating through my shirt, and he said, and I've memorized this, quote, I'm just calling to tell you I thought you did a good job. I hated the movie. I hated the script. I think if you'd spent a little more time and a little more money, a little more attention to detail, you could have had something there. But you were good. And all I could say was, thank you, sir. That is the closest you will get to an actual blessing from the man himself, as this is the guy who should play him. Now, who knows? Maybe the guy if the actor was smart, maybe he would have just made this whole story up. But regardless, I think that all of a sudden makes him the front runner for the entire thing. If at any point, even one person claims Steve Jobs liked him as him, then I think that puts him in the front.
And then we have Ashton Kutcher.
Supposedly, rumors abound.
Ashton Kutcher has to be in like every story, whether it's a new startup, or a new movie or TV show, taking over for Charlie Sheen.
Justin Timberlake's
Too
an
much.
interesting thought.
Justin Timberlake as Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg. Get him to play everyone.
He plays every major tech CEO.
Actually, let's remake Pirates of Silicon Valley with Jesse Eisenberg as Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Paul Allen, and Bill Gates.
And unfortunately, all of them, he acts exactly the way he did in the Facebook movie.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Tube Tops. So that a la carte package that we said was rumored is apparently being tested down North Carolina way, and it is in fact. Oh, is it South Carolina? My apologies.
Yeah.
South Carolina way.
That'll get you hung.
It'll get you hung in Tennessee, and it is what we thought, which is a series of tiers, not an actual a la carte. So you pay $24.95 for local networks, as well as USA, A&E, FX, Lifetime, and E. You pay an extra $20, you get ESPN and all the regional sports networks. Then there's a kids package for $10, a news and info package that has CNN and Fox News for $10. Entertainment package has TNT, TBS, etc., Sci-Fi for $10, and then a movie package, which is your normal like AMC, Encore, TCM, not your premium movies.
That is a pretty hefty entry point. So before you can even start picking your a la carte items for this, you're already spending what, $70?
$44.95.
No, $44.95
is for Get Started Plus, which is all your local broadcast networks and the ESPN.
Okay, all right. Then that's not so bad. See, like to me, to be honest, I'm looking at this package here. Let me show it to you guys. At the different packages here.
Yeah, don't get confused. It's not an extra $44.95 for ESPN.
Right. Well, yeah, that's how it looked like to me. But I got to be honest. If I could just, out of all of these, just have the kids package, only spend $10 a month and not have anything else. I don't need any of your standard anythings. I'll do all.
You've got to get the Get Started package. So your cheapest one is $35.
And that's the part that kills me. It's like if I could just spend $10 and get kids programming for the kids, I would be over that in a heartbeat. I would be so all over that.
Yeah.
Well, $35 is a real improvement on
90.
Basic cable packages. So. For some people, it looks pretty attractive.
I think this will be. I don't know. I think people will look at this and say, "Oh, so you're trying to gouge me more." That's what I think.
I don't know though. Even if it's a superficial nod towards what people want, and let's say it takes a few months or years for people to realize what a boondoggle it is, it's still at least some kind of acknowledgement of what clearly most consumers want, which I don't even think we've gotten in the last 2 decades before now.
Yeah, at least it's a move that way, but it's only because they're having a hard time selling basic packages because they're too expensive. So they're trying to come up with some kind of discount that they can apply to people that'll allow them to pull folks in that are just canceling altogether. And I think this does show that they really don't think cord cutting is the thing they're fighting against, or they would be going with a more innovative solution.
Yeah. Well, and real quick from the chat room, Cake Wolf says, does it matter if that $10 isn't in HD channels? Hell no. It's not me watching it. It's my kids. That's the only reason I'm getting it is for the kids.
Their eyes are good enough.
They watch TV, the HD.
Got a couple of set-top box announcements. The TiVo Premier Elite is now available. 2 terabyte hard drive officially available. Popped up over the weekend at Best Buy Magnolia stores. $499. Updated software, gigabyte built-in RAM. You know what? I love TiVo, but frankly, they really have done a good job at DirecTV of making it easier for me to just get the DVR from them.
Well, and Sarah first. I had something I wanted to chime in on that, though.
This is not the product for me, but I do know people, like crazy TV heads, who would really love the idea of being able to record 4 things at once.
Yeah, well, that was already existed in the previous TiVo, right?
Oh, it did?
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I thought 3 was the tops.
No,
for
I thought it
TiVo.
was 4, but maybe I may be remembering that wrong. No, the big thing is like the improved software and the improved specs for the TiVo Premier Elite. You get 2 terabyte hard drive, you can store a lot of shows.
Yeah. Okay. Well then.
So again, here's the problem: is that TiVo needs to realize that its strength is not in its hardware. Its strength is only in its software. TiVo needs to have an Apple awakening. They need to realize that their greatest strength is an intuitive, simple interface that allows you to navigate in an easy way to get to the content you love in a sexy, pretty way as well. I would pay twice as much for my DVR service if I didn't have to even know what channel anything was on. If I could just type in or select, what movies I wanted or what TV I was into, and the selection engine, it's like I miss my original TiVo so much. In 1999, I had the original Gen 1.
Wait, you can't on your cable company DVR, you can't just type in the name of a show?
You can in a slow, clunky, stupid purple and silver train wreck of an interface, but then it jumps over and you got to navigate through all these channels and all this business. Back in the day, TiVo, you could thumbs up stuff and then it would all of a sudden recommend. Your TiVo had blank space that it would
just fill in with stuff. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
It knew
I
that
never watched that stuff though.
It knew that I liked John Stossel specials. So anytime John Stossel was on his book tour and showed up on The View or whatever to talk about crazy causes, then it would automatically grab it for me and it showed up. It was beautiful. It was everything I wanted. And we've drifted away from that. We've gotten obsessed with hardware and HD and 4 tuners and 2 terabytes. And nobody cares about that. What they care about is the sense that their box gets what they want and makes it easy to get a hold of it.
DirecTV's revealing their 5-tuner HR34.
Wrong direction, people. We need a Steve Jobs of TiVo.
It basically is able to record 5 things at once.
Hey.
Is that a bad thing?
No, but it has
does the whole room sharing thing. So you can watch everything that's recorded on it anywhere you've got a box in the house.
I would so prefer if I could hook my 1999 Gen 1 TiVo up to and get digital cable in HD, I would prefer that interface to what I have right now.
I'm just trying to think of any sort of a situation where I would need to record 5 things at once. I guess if it was like a big football day, and then there just happened to be like a president's address, and no, see, I'm still out.
Yeah.
That would only be like 3.
I've run into it once or twice, but
yeah.
It's pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
Agree. All right, let's finish up with some Game of Thrones casting announcement. Ygritte has been cast. Downtown Abbey actress Rose Leslie landed the role of the wildling woman that meets
Abbey.
Jon Snow. What Downton? Oh, sorry, not Downtown Abbey.
I made the same mistake.
She's from the
That's why-
Downtown Abbey.
That's why.
That
I
Uptown
know,
Abbey
yeah.
is ugh.
Downtown
Grace to
Abbey
me.
Brown.
Downtown Abbey.
Downton Abbey actress Rose Leslie has landed the role. She looks like a Greek to me, but I don't really know much about her.
Yeah, I don't know much either, but somebody sent that in the chat room, and the moment I saw it, I was like, and that's definitely a Grit.
Yeah, she's got the look. That's the thing they've been really good about with this is they almost always nail the appearance, and even not just the appearance, but with a lot of them the demeanor as well. It
So
always seems
real
right.
quick, they're so good at that on Game of Thrones. I think it's been a game changer for me, and I'd love to hear your take on this. Me and
Game
Justin,
of Thrones changer.
Yeah, a Game of Thrones changer. A throne changer is what it is. I almost always thought the conventional wisdom is you should read the book for something and then go see the movie. But I think Justin has convinced me that you should do the reverse. You should watch the movie or the TV show first, because if it stands on its own, you will love it for what it is. Then when you read the book, you'll just get more of the same stuff you loved in the TV show. And now, yes, you'll be picturing a more handsome version of Tyrion Lannister with, Peter Dinklage. And yes, you'll picture, Ygritte to look like this Ygritte. But meanwhile, you'll get all these characters and situations that are all canon, but it'll be shaped by your original, what some would argue, lesser experience. What do you think of that?
I still disagree on Game of Thrones. I think there's so much missing from the show that you just kind of intuitively remember. You just know it from the books. That makes it a much richer experience than if you haven't read the books.
But you did read the books.
Yeah.
So you don't really know.
Well, it's not a scientific comparison, yes.
Sarah,
Brian, I tend to agree with you about not everything. Not every book that I've read after a movie that I enjoyed did I say, I'm really glad I went in this order. But that does happen, because if you read a book and you're like, this is one of just the best novels ever, and the movie doesn't live up, even if it's a good movie, it always disappoints. And
right.
And your imagination has already burned what people look like and the way that they sounded and all that other stuff kind of inside. And so you're like, this is kind of a bizarro world type of a thing. So I often find that a series or movies is better to see beforehand. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, great example.
Yeah.
I loved those movies. I didn't read the books beforehand.
The Game of Thrones, though, I think it would be an exception to that. Having read the book and then seen the series, that does not disappoint in any respect. Reading the book did not ruin it in any respect, and there was so much that I knew already. It's like watching a movie that's set in the 80s, and you're like, oh yeah, I lived through the 80s, so I know all this other stuff that informs my viewing of it and makes it more enjoyable. Having read the books, I think, is optimal, because you just enjoy the TV show so much more because you know that world. I'm not saying it's wrong to do it the other way, and I think Justin makes a really good point that Brian's passing along here, which is, you get a lot of enjoyment out of doing it the other way too. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I think optimal is to read the book first, though.
I would have agreed with you just 2 months ago, but I think Justin has polluted me. Maybe we'll get him on to argue his point in person, but
We should, actually, yeah.
It's a compelling argument.
Well, let's do it. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what we're watching.
Some Robert Young.
We still need to make it say what we were watching, but so what all of us are watching is Breaking Bad, but Sarah is 2 episodes behind.
And the last episode ended with me having heart palpitations.
Right.
So I saved it up for this very moment, because at my house we like having at least 2 in the can.
Yeah.
Because it just makes for a fun evening. And we also have Breaking Bad on iTunes Season Pass. So we don't get it until Monday anyway.
Sure.
So this was all by design.
Gotcha. And if we hadn't moved frame rate, then you would have already seen it.
I would have been done just the way the 2 of you are.
But we still wouldn't want to spoil
tomorrow.
it. We wouldn't want to spoil it.
My fault.
Yeah.
My fault. I'll take full responsibility for
You're the
that.
man about country. What are you going to do?
Look, I say we take ourselves to spoiler alert something. So spoiler alert yellow, and we'll do our best to
spoiler
dance.
alert yellow, because we're going to talk about the series stuff that Sarah has seen.
Sure,
That's just
sure.
the way it's
Now,
And then
if you need to talk about stuff, I could get up and make myself a sandwich.
Oh,
Right.
that's a great.
Or-
Actually, that might not be a bad idea. We'll still speak in generalities, but I'd hate to accidentally slip up and
Well,
ruin something.
should we save that to the end of what we're watching then? Or should
I
we
don't
just-
know what you're saying.
Because I want to
We
put
can
in.
get through some other
I want to
stuff
put in a
and
note.
then let me leave.
I want to put in a note that Fringe is still kicking it, loving the season so far. Just a note there.
So is it as satisfying as you dared hope? Because, I mean, you were at a fever pitch come the end of the season
Oh,
last
no, it is not disappointing in the least. What they're doing with the character of Peter and Walter, his father, is just absolutely fascinating. Wow, John Noble is an incredible actor and absolutely pulling this off. Also, you know, I've been a fan of Astrid through the entire run. She's getting a lot more screen time these days, so I'm kind of, it's fun to see. Definitely growing the character of Livia, although she hasn't been as prominent in these episodes. It's really been focusing on Walter, and it's really been good. Also wanted to point out that next week begins Walking Dead,
Hooray!
because that takes the place of Breaking Bad on AMC.
Real quick. That's number one. Brilliant on AMC to have this, to own this 9 o'clock Central Sunday night time slot with all their fantastic material, and to be seamless. Like Breaking Bad ends, boom, Walking Dead begins. However, I got to tell you, man, I'm really psychologically messed up by zombie Sarah Lane, which I'm looking at right now.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I'm just really
fine.
excited. Yeah.
Just gonna make yourself a brain sandwich here.
Yeah.
But-
I'm just practicing.
Are either of you going to be as distracted as I am? And I'm not advocating that people be distracted by this. I'm saying this is a problem I have, that when I go into Walking Dead this season, knowing that there have been negotiation breakdowns, that there's been budget restrictions, and that, wait, what's his name? The guy who's leaving that's awesome? I want to say Gus Van Sant. Is that it? That's
No,
not it.
It's
What's his
not Gus
name?
Van Sant.
What's his name? The guy who makes everything awesome in The Walking Dead. Darabont. Frank Darabont. Here we go. Thank you. The whole chat room's exploding at me. Knowing that Frank Darabont is off the project, and knowing that very likely some of what I love will have been Frank, some of it will have not, but certainly next season is going to be in the hands of who knows what.
Brian, stop thinking. Enjoy Zombie.
Okay. Fair enough.
Take a hint from the zombies here.
Fair enough.
All right.
All right. I'll go zombie.
Yeah.
You might like it even better.
Yeah.
It's possible.
You're right. Yeah. All right. No, fair enough. It's just that I love the first season so much, and I know so much of that was because of Ronnie Van Sant.
Well, keep in mind, that was
So
just
much of it was because of Leonard Skinner. I understand. But they're not playing Freebird anymore.
Look, Ronnie James Dio made the first season, and if he's not going to be there, I don't see how I can possibly enjoy the rest of it.
All right. Anything else folks are watching? I tell you what, I'm souring. Not souring is too harsh. I'm just losing interest in Ringer and Person of Interest and Pan Am. These are all new shows that I tried out, and they're okay, but they're not the shows when I had less time this week that I watched. I watched Fringe. I watched Breaking Bad. Those were the two things that I was like, I have to watch these. Anything else you're watching, Sarah?
Well, I watched The New Girl, or just New Girl
I actually
without
kept
the
watching
the.
that. That's pretty funny.
I keep watching it, and I keep saying, this is really a terrible show, but I keep watching it.
Yeah, but it's only 30 minutes. And
Exactly.
And the terrible parts are the other guys. It's always great.
Well, you know what? It is also a terrible show that I will not keep watching is Whitney. I don't know
yeah,
if you saw that,
no,
but that was one of the shows where I'm like, I just never seem to see another
Cummings.
one.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I didn't like it at all. But yeah, so New Girl. That was a couple shows that I've been watching. But
Did either of you guys give Terra Nova a second episode?
I did, and did not change my mind one whit.
You think it's gonna fizzle out? You don't think there's anything that'll capture?
I don't know.
you?
A lot of people disagree with me, and they like it. They see the positive. Scott Johnson, for one, is like, no, I'm really enjoying it. So,
Did you miss the part where there's dinosaurs and they're in the future past of
Well, that's why I'm still watching it. But like every plot point and every character offends my sensibilities.
Let me tell you, it's I don't report this very often on the what we're watching, but just by osmosis, I catch. I ought to report what all my kids are watching because by random chance, I've seen a lot of Caillou, some Clifford the Big Red Dog, some
Clifford also offends my sensibilities.
Johnny
No,
Test,
not really.
some lots of Adventure Time, regular show, watching those.
I've
for
never
sure.
heard you mention Adventure Time before.
Oh, no, it's a great show. I should tell you about it sometime.
Is this like kid shows we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, see, that's this whole realm that I haven't known about since I was babysitting at age 14.
Again, first of all, Adventure Time, clearly for adults, preferably stoned adults. Stoned adults and sober adults. Who,
All right.
Noted.
Jammer B, take us back to spoiler alert yellow, please. All right.
Should I leave?
Are you good? Should you leave, Brian?
I mean,
It's
would you guys
time.
rather
Sarah-
speak freely?
This
I
is
feel like
And there's all the people in the chat room in the same boat as you, too. And people listening on their podcast, driving, going, do I need
But
to
it's
stop
like,
this show?
but obviously the season finale was so awesome. It's like, when will you talk about it? Will you talk about it next week? They're going to say the same thing next week.
I tell you what, Brian, here's my proposal to you. On the fly, in the middle of the show, I'm suggesting that we hold our conversation of Breaking Bad till after feedback so that Sarah can adjourn, and anyone listening on the podcast or the live stream can just say, okay, I've heard everything on the show except that.
Roll it. Got it.
All right. Let's then John, my mistake, we're going to interfere on. Found this morning on IO9. It's an Italian fan-made Star Wars movie. And John, I'm going to need you to kind of press play on this thing and kind of skip forward a couple minutes
jump
into
into
it.
about 7 minutes in.
7
I
minutes
think
is a good point. Yeah.
Let me tell you, part of the reason I was so last minute, and I blame you specifically, Tom Merritt, is because what's funny is I heard the audio of this as John was watching it on his iPhone while we were driving around all over the U.S., and I was like, what is that? He's like, it's Italian Star Wars. What he didn't tell me is that it was epically freaking awesome. It was gorgeous, and it brought it had characters that I cared about and a story that was fascinating, a genuine mystery. This thing brought also the element that I think the Star Wars universe could really benefit from, which is that Battlestar Galactica grit to it. If you look at the ship design, it's got, and the camera work for the special effects, it's really, really good. And it's all in subtitles. It's all on YouTube. And I know all we just saw was some guy dying.
Yeah, go ahead and put it back.
so
Put it back up and bring up the audio, Jammer B. We want to talk over it, but just bring up the audio just a little bit. The plot is Master Soren is obsessed by his search for an ancient civilization, which, according to legend, holds the secret of immortality. After many years, he lights upon the wreck of the civilization's most powerful starship, the Resurrection. Soren ignores the dangers and orders his crew to dock. The explorers and Soren himself will face the mysteries of the Resurrection and the secret of the origins of the dark side of the Force.
Let me tell you what this looked like. This looked like
Barbecue sauce.
if Star Wars could have its own weekly television series and done in the style of Battlestar Galactica, this would be it. And I can't believe the whole time I was seeing this, all I kept thinking of was our discussion about copyright laws and about how 25 years after the publication or 30 years after the publication of the work, people should be able to reimagine it however they want, and it should be in the public domain. But our current system is so screwed up. Like, it kills me that this kind of awesomeness has to exist as a completely free enterprise. Like, this guy will not see a dime out of this, and cannot see a dime. It's illegal for us to pay him for this, and that is, it kills me, man.
I mean, look at that. They did a great job on special effects.
Did a great job on everything. The storytelling is great.
Story. It's just
the cinematography is gorgeous. The acting is good. I'll tell you, the only part where they're weak is the lightsaber battles, and I think that's just the nature of choreography. I mean, look, if there's one thing Lucasfilm doesn't skimp on, it's the choreography for the action sequences.
Yeah. All right, but excellent IO9 article about that at io9.com if you want to learn a little more about it. And what is it's just called Resurrection, I think, if you want to search for it on YouTube.
Yeah, in fact,
Dark Resurrection,
I guess you could just type Italian Star Wars and it'll pop up.
It'll pop
Knox
up.
Harrington in the chat room says, then shouldn't he come up with his own world and not use Lucas's? Sure. Why doesn't Disney come up with their own worlds and not use Cinderella? Why don't they come up with their own worlds and not use
the point is not that is not that it's everyone should use everybody else's works, but that if you do, you have a richer culture.
Yeah,
because some people will come up with their own things, and some people will take things and mash up and be inspired by them, and we're all inspired by other things. I mean, it's a false choice to say, oh no, you either have to come up with your own thing or you're totally stealing.
Right, correct. And clearly, he and I love this unique take. I love the architecture and the special effects style. Some people are complaining it's not really Star Wars, it's more Dune. I don't care. I saw lightsabers and I heard Star Wars music. This guy wanted to set this as part of the Star Wars expanded universe. If you read any of the Star Wars books, then you should love this kind of thing, and you should be mad that it's illegal for him to make a buck from it.
All right, time now for feedback.
For feedback with Brian and Tom on Frame Rate, oh yeah.
Derek Stevens writes to framerateshow@gmail.com. With all your talk about cord cutting and the obstacles companies face to bring us content, I wonder if you have any comments or insight on product differentiation for content licenses. I see this as one of the big problems with the current system, and it annoys me to no end. I find it silly that, say, Hulu, for instance, should have to distinguish between a computer, a box connected to a television, and a mobile device, and that these devices all have different license agreements. For example, being able to watch a certain show on the computer, but not being able to watch with fully capable browser on my Android phone is quite aggravating. Derek, that's pretty much every episode of Frame Rate.
I was about to say, hello, we'd like to introduce you to our little show. It's called Frame Rate. Pretty much it's your gripes every episode for 60 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to have experts on to explain why it is the way it is, but yeah, we absolutely agree with you. It's ridiculous that that is the way it is, that somehow watching on Hulu on my laptop shouldn't be counted the same way and make them the same amount of money and be the same in the ratings as watching on my television or watching on my phone. The industry is like a huge, giant sea turtle that just lost a leg and can't move. And that's what we're trying to get going into the port of being able to watch whatever you want, wherever you want.
I guarantee you, we're going to have a Photoshop of a one-legged sea turtle spinning in circles with old medias printed on his back in like seconds here. This comes from Derek. I have loved the new Doctor Who seasons. However, as we all know, BBC television from the 60s and 70s can be painful to watch. Plus, almost all of the early episodes are lost. Are they really lost?
Yeah, some of the early ones they just taped over for stock in the early days because Doctor Who was just a kid's show. They're like, we don't need to keep that.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I searched for and found this website, www.doctorwhoguide.com. That's DRWHO guide.com. I'm in the process of creating a PDF of the episode summaries so that I can read them on my Kindle. This has been great for catching up on all the Doctor Who history. By the way, I've only been doing the TV episodes, but they have summaries of the books, radio shows, etc. Thanks for a great show, Derek. Derek, not only is that smart of you to do for Doctor Who, but that's definitely what I did to remind myself of everything for Song of Ice of Fire when Game of Thrones came out, when I got the latest book, Dance with Dragons. God bless the internet and summaries, because you're reminded of everything.
Yeah, that's a great resource, drwhoguide.com. All right, that's it for feedback, and that is it for our spoiler-free zone. Sarah Lane, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I feel bad we're kicking you off.
You're not. No, I'm willingly going because
I know you're hungry, and you need to make a sandwich.
That's true.
The show is officially over. We're totally done. There's nothing that's going to come up after this. We're glad that you stuck all the way to the very, very end,
and
Sarah.
we have 3 minutes.
There you go.
To talk about Breaking Bad.
Talk about your finale. Have at it. I just don't want to know. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
Unplugged.
I'm unplugged.
Sarah Lane, unplugged. So, Brian.
Wait.
Seriously, when they made a cyborg out of the broken parts of Walter White.
Okay. Spoiler alert red, if you please, Mr. Jammerby. And we do have to finish in 2 minutes. So
yes, we got almost no time.
Press your mute buttons fast, folks. But the scene at the very end with Gus, I did not see coming. I knew that what was going to happen to Gus was going to happen to him. I'm still speaking in like spoiler-friendly terms.
Right? No. Okay,
I knew that was going to happen to him, but I did not think it was going to happen that way. I totally missed the bomb.
It was that scene with Gus, to me, and you and I are going to disagree on this, was massively, massively disappointing. It was cartoonish. It was silly. The CGI was ridiculous. And in my mind, I am erasing it from existence. I understand they wanted to capture those 2 seconds of our shock as he stepped out of there, but what they had to do to cause that to happen was a massive disappointment. It was like, I'm like, what am I looking at? This is not Breaking Bad. I know they take liberties with unusual stylistic things from time to time.
They got the Walking Dead guys to help.
Dude, don't get me started on the last episode of Walking Dead. It was equal to that disappointment. I was just like, wow.
Sorry, I have to humbly and respectfully entirely disagree with you. That was fantastic. When he walks out, I'm like, oh, he survived. And then I start to see a little blood, and I'm like, oh, so he's going to have something in his head, and he's going to collapse. But when they turn,
let me just say this.
You see what you see, that was a hell of a reveal.
Then what they should have done, they could have got
cartoonish.
They could have got, okay, go back and look at it. It's freaking cartoon.
I did. I looked at it like 16 times. It was fantastic.
GIF. He's an animated GIF of a skeleton. Like,
you need to watch it on a better television then, man, because you were missing out.
Watch HD. It looked silly. It looked totally silly. They should have done a more subtler practical effect, and they could have gotten the exact same thing. But that freaking skull face. I'm just a skull.
I'm sorry it was too graphic for your tender sensibilities.
No, it was cartoonish. It was bad. It was bad CG. I didn't like it at all.
It wasn't CG. It was model. It was real.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Nuh-uh. I don't think. Okay, all right. We'll go back and look. This is what we want.
Because that will change my opinion on it.
Okay, but can we talk about the real spoiler at the end of the I almost cursed.
Lazy Dog says it was both CG and makeup.
I almost cursed for the first time on Frame Rate because I wanted to say the effing end, the rosebud bombshell at the end of that episode when everything twisted. We talked, and one of those moments where you realize this whole season they've been setting this up. Right, it was a Sixth Sense twist at the end. Wow, am I stoked to see where it goes from here.
Well, and they said that they wrapped this up so that could have been the end of the series if they got canceled. Because if you notice, all the threads are neatly wrapped, but they still have more story to tell. So, you definitely have wrapped up a lot, but I'm so glad that this isn't the end of the series because I cannot wait to see what Walter White is going to do next. He's entirely free. He can go wherever he wants to go.
So here's what's funny is Bonnie and I had quietly been harboring completely separate predictions of where the series needed to end. To me, it was obvious that the series needed to end with him teaming up, turning state's evidence, and getting his brother-in-law to break stuff up, right?
No, see, I think it's going to end with him finally succumbing to cancer, but...
Okay, but to her, it was obvious that the series ends with Walter White becoming the new Kingpin. And I was like, that's not Walter White at all.
I think it's going to end with Skyler becoming the new Kingpin.
Oh, that would be dark and very bizarre.
That's what I think is going to happen.
It'll be so interesting. And KAPT Kipper points out that Mike is still alive, recovering in Mexico.
Don't forget Mike. All right, we got to wrap up. We're 2 minutes over. Thanks, everybody, for watching. FrameRateShow@gmail.com is the email address. We'll see you next time. Play the Star Wars video.